waiting for you in the morning. I'ma leave without giving a warning. I'ma leave without giving a. But every time we say goodbye, we all know that it's a lie. Now I'm all alone, 'cause you never show. You say you will, but then you don't. That's how it goes. Don't wanna know. I'm turning off my mind so I get by. I just wanna be happy, happy tonight. Every time we say goodbye, they all see that it's a lie. 'Cause we always give it one last try. Yeah, you've watched me break 1,000 times. Now I'm all alone, 'cause you never show. You say you will, but then you don't. That's how it goes. Don't wanna know. I'm turning off my mind so I get by. I just wanna be happy, happy tonight. Without giving a warning, I'ma leave without giving a. But every time we say goodbye, we all know that it's a lie. Now I'm all alone, 'cause you never show. You say you will, but then you don't. That's how it goes. Don't wanna know. I'm turning off my mind so I get by. I just wanna be happy, happy tonight. Happier tonight. Kept me waiting for you in the morning. I'ma leave without giving a warning. I'ma leave without giving a. But every time we say goodbye, we all know.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another community guest Q&A. Just before we get started, a few usual bits of housekeeping. If you don't follow me already over on Twitter, please could you go and do so. And just while I'm running through the intros, if you aren't subscribed already, please make sure to do so and drop a like on the video now as I go through all of this. Shout out to our stream sponsor, Fantasy Football Hub. There is a link in the description which will give you 15% off. They have great stats, sort of comparison tools, fixture tickers, as well as sort of weekly articles from a lot of great managers, including the winner of FPL from last year as well. So yeah, lots of great stuff if you want to go and check that out over there. if you guys aren't in the league already, there is a code going across the bottom of your screen now. Number one in the league this week after game week 2 is Amir, sitting on 163 points after two game weeks. I have slipped down to 16th, and our guest Charlie is sat just behind me in 21st. Not much to split the two of us, but not quite reaching those high heights of 163. So no more to go through. We've got Charlie Hain joining us this evening. You might better know him as One Rover Vlogs from either Twitter or YouTube. All his links to his Twitter and his YouTube are in the descriptions. His Twitters and now his YouTube are up on screen now for you all. Please make sure after the stream that you go and follow him and drop a subscription on his YouTube as well. That would be much appreciated. But without further ado, good evening, Charlie.
Evening, mate. Cheers for letting me come on.
No problem. So we'll get straight into it. We'll put our teams up on screen. Do you want to talk me through your game week 2 and your game week 1? How your season's gone so far?
So yeah, game week 1 was pretty decent. I got 72 with the Aubameyang captain. So pretty happy with that. Obviously, game week 2 is I'm pretty happy with it considering the transfers I've done as well. I did do a -4. Took out Werner and the 4.0 million defender and brought in Digne and Calvert-Lewin. So that massively paid off. Obviously, Aubameyang captain. Obviously, pretty much everyone else had him captain as well. So, and there weren't really that many better captain options in my team, really. I was thinking of Calvert-Lewin, but I wasn't really going to go with him as well, being the early kickoff. And then, obviously, Lascelles and St. Maximin, obviously, a lot of people out there very disappointed. I watched the game, and obviously, they were all for Newcastle, like credit to Brighton there as well. But yeah, obviously, Ings I was actually going to get rid of Ings, but kept him. Glad I did, because he was still getting chances against Palace last week, and he loves scoring against Spurs, so I had to keep him. But yeah, still pretty happy though, even though it's not as high as obviously some people got. It's still above the average, so that's all I'm aiming for really all season.
Yeah, I was a bit the same. Our teams sort of on paper look quite similar. I got only 53 this week. I didn't get the Ings return that you got, which is sort of the difference between the two of us. Aubameyang, captain, Calvert-Lewin with a 17, then Trent and Justin both with 7s, and then blanks all round for the rest of them. We'll get into sort of transfers, and I know you're on your wild card, and a few guys in the chat are already saying they're on their wild card as well. I've taken a -4, which I can bring up now to take out Aubameyang and Saint Maximin and bring in the Podence and Kevin De Bruyne, sort of as I think a lot of people are doing something very similar to that. De Bruyne just looked really class. I've seen a few tweets going about that, he got a really lucky assist and it was a penalty, and I think that if you're saying that, I'm not sure you watched the game quite as fully as maybe you did. He looked so lively. He was the involved in practically every attack they had, playing in that number 10. Whether he stays there or not, we don't know. But Leicester at the weekend, he could stay there. And you buy a player because they're on penalties. It's just part of owning a player. It was like game week 1. People say, "Oh, you got a hat trick from Salah because he had 2 penalties." Well, I did know he was going to be on penalties when I bought him, so it was part of the reasoning for me buying him. So yeah. So yeah, that's what I've gone with. I've got a 4-3-3 lineup this game week. Stevens, Taylor. Stevens is one I'm not particularly happy with. Sheffield United defence look pretty poor, but what can you do about that? That really, I've got to stick with him for one more week, I think, and then I can look to get him out. But yeah, so you're on your wild card. So we'll start with who do you think is going to be nailed on in that wild card team?
Nailed on. I think Guaita. Guaita's a really good pick. I've gone. He's my keeper at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed on there has got to be Calvert-Lewin. I think Everton looking really good.
Yeah.
Creating a lot of. You got James, Digne putting the balls in, Richarlison creating a lot. De Bruyne is a definite.
Yeah.
Best player in the Premier League for me. FPL wise, he's just insane. Even if he plays deep, he's still good as well. He
Yeah.
still played deep a lot last season, done well. Salah, definite. Highest points, over the last 3 seasons put together. Who else? I'm trying to think. Probably Ings. I think I might keep Ings as well. I think the front three of my team, which I have now, I probably will keep the same. But I might get in Wood from Burnley.
Yeah.
I think he looks a really good shout. I think last season he was up there with shots in the box, getting loads of chances.
Yeah.
So yeah, and obviously Trent as well. Trent's a definite. Defenders, I'm not really uh, too sure on. I've got Sice in there at the moment.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be in a lot of people's teams, even though obviously he conceded a penalty last night. But I think that's just a one-off. I think if you look at the fixtures, they're to die for, really.
Yeah,
But
no, I
yeah,
agree. I don't see Saiz losing his place anytime soon. Who they've got on their bench as well. I think, we've seen a lot of great things from him in the past year, but I think
yeah,
one tackle against Man City is not going to lose his place, seeing how Nuno
no,
manages it. A couple of questions that are coming in that firstly with your goalkeeper, you've gone Gaeta. I can see why a Crystal Palace defender is something that's appealing, but there is chat and Martinez at 4.5
yeah,
being
true.
being the other one. I suppose if you're going for a 4.5, he's the one to go with. He looked really good, that penalty save, okay, and a clean sheet. He's not going to do that every week, but he did look strong. Villa looked better defensively. Okay, they played against 10 men for a lot of the game, but how come he's not your starting goalkeeper at the moment on your wild card?
I just think it's still Villa. I think we still got to give them to see who they play because they've got Liverpool coming up. If they look better defensively against a team, with 11 men, then I'll see. But it's just I know he's a quality keeper. I really rate him. But it's just whether they can play better defensively against 11 men because we've seen obviously last season they had a lot of goals conceded and defensively they were
Yeah,
poor. But I know he's going to get save points. But I've just gone for Guaita at the moment because I just think Palace is so solid, even with a makeshift back four. Two clean sheets in a no, one clean sheet in a row. Nearly kept a clean sheet. Obviously Van der Beek got a good goal, but
yeah.
I really rate Guaita as well. He gets a lot of bonus points and save points as well. But yeah, it
Yeah,
could
well,
change easily.
it's always the benefit of having a goalkeeper from a team that doesn't score many goals because if they then keep a clean sheet, the chances are they're in the bonus as well. I had Gaeta at times last season and he did a great job for me. So can see why you've gone for him. Their fixtures as well are really nice. I think people underestimated Palace again this season because of how badly they finished the end of last season because they were
Yeah.
safe, but people forget quite how good they can be defensively. So yeah, definitely a good shout. The other one is you said you've got Trent in your team. Are you at all considering going with Robertson over him?
I'm not sure yet. That's a 50-50 because I don't think last season I didn't own Robertson once. I think some people switched between the two at points in the season. But I think it will probably be Trent. I think the free kicks are going to come soon. He's going to bang one in top corner soon and get assists. But Robertson is looking good to be fair, so I could go him and save point 0.5. I think he can match Trent easily.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think we haven't quite seen enough to know whether the points that Robertson has been scoring is something that's sustainable. So Trent does feel a little bit safer. So we'll go through the games and sort of have a quick chat about some of the assets in them from both sides. Just a few questions coming in. So Lawrence is also on a wild card, saying his main players are Son, Salah, De Bruyne, Reece James, Van Dijk, Jimenez, and Pedence. So Son, I don't think you had Spurs cover in your draft currently, do you?
Oh yeah, I have. I forgot to mention that I did bring in Son. I
Okay.
actually did bring in Son because he's sort of like Marmite because some people like when they get him in their team he'll get a red card,
Mm,
but like I had him in my team the first game Mourinho took charge of when he
yeah.
come in and he done well for me, son. He hasn't burnt me yet. He hasn't got me a red or anything. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've got him in because they got decent fixtures as well.
Yeah, I've been burnt hard by Son. I had him for his red card against Bournemouth, and then I capped him again in his second red card. And actually that week when I captained him was the week that De Bruyne played Arsenal and scored 17, and
Oh
I
wow!
sold De Bruyne for Son to captain him, and he gets sent off. Was a
Oh
low
wow!
moment in my season. But yeah, is Dunn nailed on for Burnley? I don't think so. They're going to be fit, and then Ben Mee as well will come back in. So it's very short term option. Him, Manu assets. We'll get onto Manu a bit later, and we'll get onto Palace with Zaha as well in a minute. But we'll start off with the early kickoff. Everton, West Brom. Both of us owning Calvert-Lewin, I think, for that game week. Very happy with what he produced for me. Hello.
Sorry, I cut out of it.
Hello, yeah, sorry. Just on, I don't know whether I'm just trying to watch whether it's my internet or not, but if you guys in the chat could let me know if the stream froze or it was just Charlie. But yeah, Calvert-Lewin and Everton looked really on it at the weekend. You've just got one of them in your wild card, which is
Mhm.
Calvert-Lewin, but their midfield, Rodriguez and Richarlison also looked really good. Very, very attacking team and looked like they were a great price, a lot of these assets.
Yeah, decent, very well priced. I like the look of both, to be honest, but I think the fixtures on, I think some people are getting, I wouldn't say carried away, but maybe I've seen people with two or three. It
Mm,
could work, but I think Palace is going to be a tough game. Um, they don't concede many goals. Also, Brighton as well. Brighton looking really good. I know, I know. Obviously, they looked good, but I mean, it depends. Some people have got James and Calvert, or
mm,
Richarlison and Calvert. It could easily work because they're creating a lot of chances.
yeah.
You know, balls in the box and so on.
I agree. I think if I was going with two, it would be Calvert-Lewin and Rodriguez as the two. Would probably be the way I'd go. Richarlison just seems very sort of on off, but he has a
Yeah,
really
yeah,
high ceiling. So yeah, but they look great, and I would advise if you don't have one of them in your team to get one. Their prices are only going to go up because of how much value there is in them. Coming in at 7 or 7.5, for those two is really great. So yeah, I would advise getting in probably Rodriguez or Calvert-Lewin. They're the cheaper two. I'd probably go with it. Eric is saying you're put off by the price rises for the Everton assets. I think it's worth remembering that, people were put off with the price rises on someone like Danny Ings last season. That, yes, you think they're rising in price, but you've got to have a think of where their ceiling is. Richarlison, if Calvert Lewin is playing in that sort of striker position with all the service that he could get, his price could go up. He'll be returning the same as Jimenez and Ings this season if he's getting the same service. So 7 million, even if you're paying, I think he's 7.2, looking to go to 7.3 tonight. That's still a good price for him. I know you think, oh, I'm behind the curve, but you're still better off being on the curve, I think, than what you would
yeah,
be if you didn't get them in. So their prices are only going to continue to rise. So okay, you've missed the first point two, but you're going to gain the next sort of point two or whatever. If he scores again in the next two, his price will be 7.5 by come game week
yeah.
5. So it's only going to go up, and it'll be the same for James and Richarlison as well. Um, in terms of you had Dean in your team. I find it quite hard to judge because there have been so many goals, which makes me think no one's defence is worth owning at the moment. But Everton's fixtures are not bad. Dean is on set pieces. He could be on penalties. We don't quite know. It's not a bad option at 6 million.
Yeah, he's pretty. He was. I was. It was so annoying just to see West Brom get that early goal, and but
Yeah,
Digne, he could have had on another day he could have had a 12, 15 pointer. He hit obviously the bar or the post with his free kick, put
yeah,
some quality balls in the box, which were I think it was Keane's goal where Richarlison headed it off a Digne's cross, keeper saved it, and then
yeah.
Keane scored. But yeah, it could have been. I don't know. At the moment, I've actually got Coleman in my team. Um,
Okay.
just because I've gone like sort of obviously heavy with Son and De Bruyne, Salah, then it's quite hard to have Digne as well if you're going to have
Mm.
Trent.
Those set
So
pieces though. You've got Gaeta and Coleman to Martinez and Dean would be something that is quite tempting, but a little combination change there. But yeah, I can see why. I've heard a lot of good things about Coleman from an open play. It's just those set pieces that Dean
Yeah.
has is quite tempting to try and find that 500,000 to go up there.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Fancying any of the West Brom assets or not? They looked very hot-headed. Gibbs getting a red card, and then Village also getting the red to be sent to the stand, so won't be in the dugout for the next couple of games. Diangana and Pereira, the two you'd expect to score, both scored, but at 5.5, I think for Diangana is not bad, but probably not the ones that I'd go with.
Yeah, I mean, I think their fixtures are pretty. I mean, even Chelsea, I
Yeah,
wouldn't. I don't. Obviously, it depends if that Edouard Mendy, if he's
yeah,
back in, because if Kepa's still in net, then I'll bring in Diangana or Pereira just for. But they've got some decent fixtures there. They look good. Pereira's on a lot of set pieces. Diangana just gets the ball and runs forward, and like you saw on the weekend, got a really good goal. But they could be. Obviously they're not highly owned as well, so they could be decent options.
yeah. I agree. At 5.5, Diangana's worth going with. I know it's only 500,000, but that feels a bit much for a West Brom asset. So I'd probably go with Diangana out of the two of them.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we'll move swiftly on to the next one with Leeds 4, Fulham 3. Leeds continuing to score a lot of goals. I still don't own any of their assets. Their
No.
next three is what worries me. It's Sheffield United, who on their day we know they can be good defensively. Then it's City, and then it's Wolves. I just think that, I was looking at a 5.5. I was considering Klitsch coming into my team, but I went with Podence just on the fixture basis because those three, I know Leeds score a lot of goals and we've seen that from them, but I just can't see it over the next three of them continuing to do what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think because that's the way they play in it. I think it could easily continue, especially I bet those people with like Bamford. Like Bamford is crazy. Like he's already gone up 0.2. He's got
Yeah,
2 goals, 2 assists. It's just, but that's the way they play. They just even you see the wing backs. They get so far forward, almost overlapping the wingers at times. And I mean, I'm not sure on which asset I'd get because there's quite a lot. I think to choose from, and they're all pretty cheap. Like Bamford at 5.7. Whether he can continue is another matter, but
yeah.
they do look good.
I just don't know with Rodrigo. You're always going to have that worry that Bamford's not going to is eventually going to get phased out. I think I just can't see how they're not going to start with two strikers. I think unlikely. I mean, they did it the weekend because of injury, but it's not the way they play, which makes me think Rodrigo, unless he plays him on the wing, which Rodrigo has done in the past, but it just doesn't seem to suit them. So it probably is going to come in for Bamford at some point. So that's just my worry on Bamford. But then I said that before this game week, and then he scored and got an
Yeah,
assist, got 2 assists. So how did that
yeah,
turn out for me? But yeah, I definitely think their midfield options, Klitsch, especially with the penalty saga that's going on at the moment, is definitely one that's worth looking at. It's up to 5.6, but those Leeds asset will finish the season at a higher price than 5.6, I imagine.
yeah. Definitely. I think they look really good. Even Klitsch even is scored a good goal against Liverpool as well, which wasn't even a penalty. A good, I
Yeah,
think it was a volley as well. So yeah, I think any of them. Costa. I
yeah,
don't think Costa usually scores that many. I don't think he scored that many last season, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, they look good. Harrison, Klitsch, Bamford. Just pick what one and just stay on
yeah.
it. Don't go, like chasing the points. Like a lot of people do that. But pick one if you're going to go for them and just stick with it for a
Yeah,
couple of
I
games.
agree. Klitsch just seems to be involved. If I had to recommend one, I'd probably go with him. As you've said, Costa, he's probably overperforming, and Harrison, they scored four and he didn't get anything. I just don't
Mm.
see them scoring four and Klitsch not getting anything. I feel like he will involved in something. Whereas you've got Harrison could potentially get nothing when they score 4. But yeah, they've got some great priced assets in there for sure. The other team, Fulham, I think there's probably only one man that's worth talking about out of their whole squad, and that is Mitrovic. He got 3 bonus, 2 goals, and the yellow card. The usual Mitrovic things, the goals and
Yeah.
the yellow cards come with it. He's not in your wild card. Considering him, it just seems to be that if they're going to do anything this season, have any chance of staying up, he's going to have to score 20 goals this season.
Yeah, I think he could easily be in there. It's just, I think if they can sign a few more, attacking, wingers to provide. I know it was obviously Leeds. I think they've just agreed, or they're agreeing a deal with a Real Sociedad centre back. So their defence to get better, but I think Mitrovic is definitely a good shout. I mean, my brother had him as well in his team, and he was going mad like all weekend. But he's definitely a good option. Like you said, if there's going to be a goal, he's almost certainly going to be involved. And it's 6 mil, his price could easily go up as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let me know, guys, in the chat if you've got any of these Leeds or Fulham players, Leeds or Mitrovic in your team, and if not, if you're planning on getting any of them, in. We don't need to talk about the rest of the Leeds team. Although Areola at 4.5, getting 3 saves, but we'd always go Martinez over him in defence. So on to the next one. So a lot of talking points. And I know a couple of guys have asked about Zaha in the chat, and we'll talk about him now. Is the Crystal Palace 3, Manchester United 1. I've got Martial in my team. It was a hard watch. He looked fed up, and he looked like Martial in one of his moods when you don't want to own him, and then when he's in smiling, you do want to own him. I think it's probably a hold on a lot of their assets, probably what I'd say to start with, that we know what they can do, and I don't expect them to be rolled over like that on a regular basis. But I think there's a lot to talk about with Palace. You've gone Gaeta. Their defense is good, and we know it can be really good from previous seasons. And then Zaha with his 2 goals again does look a good option at 7 million. Not in your wild card. Have you considered Wilf?
Yeah, I have. I think because he's playing out front as well. They're playing a 4-4-2. They've started this season. He sort of drifts wide, and him and Schlupp, they drift wide and then make runs. But Zaha looks good, to be honest. I think he might be just doing it for a move, because even it's crazy already. I think he's already got only 1 goal away from last season's goal tally.
He scored
already,
4 last season, and he scored 3 already.
That's insane. But yeah, he looks good. He's obviously the main man as well. He could have had even more goals, like the Southampton game. He should have had a hat trick. He missed so many. I think he missed 2 1-on-1s. He could have had 5 or 6 by now. But yeah, he looks a good option. Even the likes of, like, I wouldn't say obviously Townsend's a really good option, but I think Zaha or AU. Maybe AU if he could finish, but definitely Zaha.
But my only thing with Zaha is they've signed what's his name, Batshuayi. My only worry is whether is Batshuayi being brought in to only be a backup, or are they going to play him and Ayew together, and then what does that do to Zaha? Or is he literally brought Batshuayi as a backup, which seems a bit of a strange decision, but would be my worry with him.
It's strange. I mean, if it was me, if I was Roy Hodgson, I'd be playing. Even though AU does work well for them, the way he holds up the play and makes the forward runs. If it was me, as long as Schlupp and Townsend are both on form, then I'd play Batshuayi up front.
Yeah,
I think him and Zaha up front would be insane, because Batshuayi's done pretty well there. Was it a couple of seasons ago when he was on loan? When was it? Was it last? It wasn't last year. It was the year before, wasn't it? I think he got 6 and 11.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, who knows? But I think Zaha is definitely a good option.
Yeah, I agree. But I would prefer James Rodriguez for 500,000 more, I think. If it boiled down to it and I was on my wild card, I'd probably go James. Although the Palace fixtures are very, very nice indeed. So I can see why people are getting onto him. Just Nuclear, Eze came off the bench, I think, towards the end of the game, and had a great sort of bit of skill against one of the United centre backs, I think Maguire. But onto United, a couple of guys are saying they're going to hold Bruno. They've got Rashford in their team. Don't Rams keeping Bruno. Lawrence is keeping Bruno. I've got Martial. My only worry with Bruno is when Van der Beek came on, we saw him become the most advanced out of all the three of the midfield options, which pushed Bruno back one. So it's like they have a CDM, a centre mid, and a cam. And Bruno started as the cam, and then when Van der Beek came on, he dropped back into that sort of Pogba centre mid role, which is not what you want from him. I know there's penalties, and he'll probably score a penalty next game, but if Van der Beek's going to get playing time, I think that reduces the appeal of him a little bit.
Yeah, I think, like you said, if he's going to drop back, like you said, he's still on penalties, but will they be, Manchester United like there was last season? Who knows? But yeah, like you said, if you got a United asset, you just hold them. I think they will improve. It was their first game. A lot of them have been, played a lot of games. You got to remember they didn't play the Europa League. What was it, semi-final that long ago, and then they've been playing international as well, and none of them have had a proper preseason. So I think just wait. But yeah, like you said with the Bruno situation, if he's going to be going back, especially the price as well, that's what you got to look at as well. He could be on pennies, but the price is a lot of money
It
for
is,
like
yeah. I
it's
agree.
back.
Yeah, and the way Spurs are playing, Son is at 1.5 mil cheaper. I feel like Bruno he's not badly priced, but he's quite expensive in comparison to what the other Man United assets are. I think is probably the way to go with that. So it's an interesting one. I'd say a hold on your United assets. If you've got them, great, keep them. If you don't have them, I probably wouldn't go buying them and wait and see. Liam Healy is in the chat. Says hello, Charlie.
Yeah, Liam Healy, Bristol City fan as well. Yeah, evening, Liam.
So a couple of them laughing at your Manchester United comments. So onto the next one, where both our captains fell in Arsenal against West Ham. Both of us have taken Aubameyang out of our teams. I just think we're going to get consistency with De Bruyne that you're not going to get with him. I know he's a midfielder now, so Aubameyang plays wide, and we've got to accept that. But he was very wide at times during that game, and he got an assist, but it wasn't nearly enough to see from him to what I want from my captain's asset. Where I think De Bruyne, even if he doesn't return, he looks like he could return in every game. Whereas Aubameyang didn't look like he was going to do anything in that game, really, which is a bit concerning for him.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating. I didn't actually watch the game. I went out with a few mates on Saturday, so I didn't actually watch it. But when I looked at and seen he just got an assist against West Ham, and then I watched the longer highlights, and they didn't. It was actually West Ham really that they should have won possibly. They had a lot of chances. But yeah, like you said, I think with Aubameyang, especially the fixtures now, they aren't as good. They go into that sort of stage where they're getting a bit tougher, and when you've got De Bruyne, it's impossible to not. I think a lot of people are going to do that move, Aubameyang to De Bruyne or Sterling. So I think when they go back to Green, get him back in maybe. But yeah, for now, De Bruyne is on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think. People have been talking about Lacazette again, but Nketiah is going to want game time. So I think it's not a good time to be getting on Arsenal, especially with these fixtures, and especially the same with West Ham. Antonio scored, but their fixtures again are not good enough to be getting on any of their assets. There are better players at their price that you can look at for both of them with their upcoming fixtures. So Lawrence is asking, who are your strikers on your wild card currently?
On my wild card currently, it is Chris Wood, because they're decent fixtures and he's the main man. Jimenez, Mr. Consistent, and Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, a nice front three. Not to give anything away, but writing my differential article for Fantasy Football Hub, which looks at differentials for sort of the next 5 weeks. Chris Wood is the striker that I've gone with for the next 5 weeks. So fingers crossed that he returns, both for me and so I don't look stupid, and for you as well. over the next weeks. But he's definitely got a lot to offer. He's the only forward under 7 million that he scored like at least 10 goals in his past 3 seasons or something. So he's just got that consistency, which is great to have. And their fixtures are quite nice as well. So can definitely see why
Yeah,
he's done that.
yeah, definitely. I mean,
Uh,
it's quite annoying. It's quite annoying as well, though, that the fact that if Burnley were allowed to spend, because they're obviously the owner don't want to spend money, because Dyche
yeah,
is one of the best managers,
yeah.
within the restraints he has around his budget in the Premier League. And if they had, if they could get better wingers in, he would even be a better option. You
Mm.
think if he could get better, you know, crosses in the box, he could be up there, 15, 16 goals a season easily.
Yeah, no, I agree. Lawrence says nice front three, whereas Don't Ramp says Chris Wood is a lump. So make of that make of that what you will. Just before we get on to the next game, anyone watching, please just drop a like on the video and let me know in the chat if you had any of these Southampton or Spurs assets in your team. Let me know which of them you owned, or if not, whether it was a painful watch like it was for both Charlie and I, where you just saw, one goal go in and it was Kane assisting Son. Then it happened again and again and again. And then Kane scored, and it was just, yeah, you just watch your rank double every time one of those goals go in. So my strong game week 1, where I was at 300k, quickly got rescinded back to 900 in one match practically, and then I managed to hold on after that, but the damage was already done. So you haven't got you're ditching Ings in on your wild card. He has looked good. I mean, I expect him to tick along again for this season. He is like the key man for them there. Um, I think there's not much. I think Che Adams is an interesting one. I think he's got the highest XG out of any player in the league that hasn't scored yet. So owners have been very unlucky. His XG is sort of 1.5 and he hasn't scored. He's probably still one of the better sort of 6 mil options. I would still hold on to him. But what's more concerning for me and for a lot of you, I imagine, is owning their defenders. I've never seen a team defend as badly and do it over and over again as Southampton did in that game. They conceded the same goal, I think, 3 or 4 times,
Yeah,
just because their defense. I've never seen such a high line against a team that's got the pace and attack like they have in Lucas and Son. It just seemed ludicrous. And then they've conceded it twice. Okay, don't do it again and again. So you concede
I
five
know.
of them. It just seemed like they only had Son had 4 shots on target and he scored all 4 of them just because of how easy all of his chances were, because he just got put through on goal, and Bednarak and Stevens were never going to catch him, and it was just the same again and again. So I hope they change it for next week, but only McCarthy is a painful one, having scored a total of 2 points from 2 game weeks.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
it was a strange display in defence.
They were so bad. I watched the whole game. I don't know why I carried on, because that, like you said, they kept doing the same. It was such a high line, and Walker Peters was trying to play offside, and I don't know. But obviously, those that
Mm,
those that didn't, take a hit for Son and Kane to leave for Martial or Fernandez or whatever, then fair
yeah.
play to you.
Yeah, I
But
agree. A few guys in the saying McCarthy's rubbish. I'm thinking of selling him. What I would say is, if they try and fix the problem of conceding 5 to Spurs by dropping McCarthy, then Hassan Hutel needs to have a good long look in the mirror, because there are a lot bigger issues at play in that game for them than McCarthy
yeah,
having a bad game. He's got a one-on-one against one of the best finishers in the world in Son. What are you expecting your Southampton goalkeeper to do? There are a lot bigger issues. The amount of chances they gave them. That I've got McCarthy, and I am not at all concerned with him being dropped. If they drop him, then Hassan Hutel has got, yeah, they've got problems there that don't need to be discussed. But on to Spurs, it does feel like Son and Kane. Son and Kane are the two to go with. Doherty, it looks like he's dropping in price. They don't look good enough defensively. So I'd probably wait, if you're looking to buy him, wait and see what happens. But yeah, it's Son and Kane, and they look great with some great fixtures. Nine and a half for Bale announced today. He's not going to be back for a couple of game weeks, I think. So it's probably game week 6, 7 that he's going to be fit to start. But that front three of Son, Kane, Bale is something that's quite scary not to be a part of at the moment in my team.
Yeah, definitely. I think if he can, obviously, like you say, it's going to be a while because he hardly played any games last year. He was only just playing. I think he only just played golf and then
Yeah,
two
just
games in the
played
world.
golf.
That's it. I think that's literally all he played last season. I can't remember him playing any games, but I think that Regulion as well
Yep.
is a player that we should mention because he is. I've seen him, you know, even in the Europa League semi final against United and against Inter. He's so attacking. It's so different from a Ben Davis who's
Yep.
used to be attacking, but but then Regulion. I think I said this on Twitter earlier. If World was playing in defence instead of Dyer and
Yep.
Sanchez, then I'd have Regulion. But because Mourinho loves Dyer, I
Mm.
don't think there's no way I would have Regulion because they would just won't
Yeah.
keep enough issues.
I just wonder if there is a chance, and I was looking at it, of them going to, you know, a 3/5 at the back with a back three with Davies, Dyer, and, you know, Alderweireld or Sanchez, and then Regulion and Doherty on the wing backs with, you know, you've got Lo Celso and Højbjerg in the middle with your front three of Son, Kane, Bale. I don't think it's probably something that he's going to do, Mourinho, but that does seem like a really good setup that they could have. It would allow Doherty to do and Regulion to do what they want, whereas having a
That
big
sounds
sort of
good.
yeah. So if they go with that, it's something
Yeah.
to be watchful of. Just a couple of things in the chat. Would you be going with Wood or Mitrovic over the next few games? I'd definitely be going with Wood. You've got him in your wild cards. Wood would, even for 500,000 more, would be the one that I'd go with. Mitrovic, he scored twice, but one of which was a header, which I'd expect 15 teams in the league wouldn't concede that goal. So yeah, I would be going with Wood. Pulisic is a good shout once he comes back. He's probably not going to be back this weekend to start, but probably the weekend after he'll probably be back in. So we have whittled on for 40 minutes already, so we'll try and crunch through the last few slightly faster. Brighton, Newcastle, I think not much that needs to be said. Apart from Newcastle, I'd probably go selling your assets. They don't look great. St. Maximin doesn't look like he's going to be involved. They didn't create any chances against that Brighton side, who are quite good defensively, but just I think there's better people at price than those Newcastle assets at the moment. Whereas Brighton and the new best right back in the world, it seems to be with Lamptey, setting the world alight. Him and their attackers, Mopé, particularly, and Trossard, those three look like good options.
Yeah, definitely. I can't believe that Lamptey. I've never seen a player run. You know, his energy is
Yeah,
insane. The amount of times he was running, you know, past Saint Maximin, making him look silly and getting it in the box. And like you said, even Trossard's looking good
yeah,
because Trossard last season it was a bit of a. I think I had him a few times last year, but it was a bit annoying because he kept getting injured.
yeah.
And rotated, but I think Potter now knows his best lineup. So I think Brighton coming up, their players could look good. Even Mopai, I was considering in my wild card,
Mm.
but their fixtures aren't amazing, but they're okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think what people who don't have Lamptey at the moment, he's got a potentially a knock, and their next couple aren't great with United and Everton. But game week 6, when we've got the likes of James Justin, who is probably not going to keep his place in that Leicester side, he's going to have risen in price 2 or 3 times by then. Then swapping him to Lamptey, who then plays West Brom in game week 6, Burnley in game week 8, and Villa game week 9, feels like a good time to get on Lamptey from James Justin. I know a lot of people will have him. So after, you know, a couple of good fixtures for Justin before he loses his place to Pereira when he comes back, it does feel like it's probably the way I'm going to get on Lamptey. It looks like a good sort of segue into him. We haven't had an update on whether he's going to be fit. A couple of Nuclear is asking in the chat. I think he was taken off as a precaution. They almost took him off at half time. He let him play a bit more. He got a few kicks. I'd imagine if he's not back this week, where they've got United at home, okay, you probably might not want to play him anyway. He should be back for game week 4 anyway, from what we've heard. So I wouldn't be selling him if you had him.
No.
Trophy is asking De Bruyne or Raheem for this weekend. So I think we've decided it's De Bruyne. You can't look past Kevin at this rate. Definitely not. And then Nuclear, finally, before we get on to the next game, is who would you be selling first out of Dyer and Souček? So I'd probably sell Souček first because I reckon Dyer is more likely to return points than Souček is. Although if you could sell Dyer and keep Souček, it might keep him from dropping in price in my team before I can sell him. But I'd probably sell Souček first. It depends who you're going to though, because Dyer is probably, there's more players that you can get to from Dyer than there is from Souček. So on to the next one, which we can talk very briefly about in Chelsea 0, Liverpool 2. On Chelsea, if any of you guys haven't watched my Chelsea review, it wasn't the best. When you get a red card, it changes the game. I'd still hold on to your assets with West Brom next. I just wouldn't be selling them. Hopefully, Mendy's going to be fit. It looks also like the time that Thiago Silva is going to come into the team. Now Christian's suspended. So it looks better defensively. I would just still hold on to your assets at the moment. If you got no Chelsea assets, you got Reece James in your wild card.
No, not. I haven't got Reece James. I haven't got none at the moment. I think I'm just like we talked about earlier before we come on. I think Pulisic, I'm waiting for him. Maybe Werner's been playing well. I think Brighton, he played well. Could have had a few goals. Shoots on point, but it was pretty hard for him against Liverpool when you got Fabinho and Trent and Van Dijk were pretty much all on him at the first point. But yeah, like you said, don't get rid of. If you got Werner, don't transfer him out with West Brom coming up. No chance.
No, I agree. And as we said before the stream, that if that penalty had been converted and Werner had assist in his opening 2 games, this mass sell-off wouldn't have been there. So I don't know why a blank against Liverpool with 10 men on the pitch is why people are selling him. I just think it's quite short-sighted to be doing that. But if you're doing it because you don't like Werner, I don't understand that. But then there are other good assets which people are getting on. Liverpool, I mean, again, there's probably not that much to be said about them. It's as you'd expect. You want probably with their upcoming fixtures. If I just get them up on, let me go to my team and we'll apparently not. Let me just So their fixtures coming up are really nice. There's apart from Arsenal this weekend, there's a lot of clean sheets, so you probably want to be owning one of their defence and one of their attack in Salah and Mane. So Trent, Robbo, and Salah and Mane. It's probably as simple as that. They've got Villa, Everton, Sheffield United, West Ham, all in a row after Arsenal. So yeah, you've got Salah and Trent in your team at the moment. It seems like a sensible way to be doing things.
Yeah, definitely. I think even depending on what team Arsenal put out this weekend, because if they can, because I think, was it Tierney missing on Saturday through injury?
Yes, yeah.
So if Kolasinac plays like left centre back, then I think Salah's in for a real treat.
I agree. Nuclear, Havertz was taken off at half time because we had to sacrifice someone to bring on another centre back. It wasn't going to be the midfield 3 because otherwise we would have been dominated out of the game more than we already were. And Mount runs like an absolute workhorse on the pitch, so it wasn't going to be him. When you're a man down, you need to have players like Mount on the pitch. So that was why it kind of had to be Havertz. It wasn't going to be Werner either because of how hard he works. So I wouldn't be disheartened by that. He does look like he needs some time to adjust, but I would still stick with him. So the final one on Sunday, before we get into the 2 Monday night games, of Leicester 4, Burnley 0. You don't have any Leicester assets in your current wildcard team. Castan looks really good. Barnes looks really good. Probably the only 2 I'd want to own. Vardy looks a bit expensive and Justin looks a bit short term. But considered either of Castan or Barnes?
I think if I was to play a 3-5-2, in my world, because at the moment I've got a 3-4-3. But if I was to play a 3-5-2, I think I'd want Barnes. I think he looks really good.
Yeah,
Because even last season he ended up with a really good ending with goals and assists. I think it was, I can't remember exactly, but I think he got about 16 returns combined. So, and he looks really good. I think he just runs like, even the West Brom game last week, he probably
yeah,
should have had a couple of goals. And yeah, Castagna looks quality. Castagna looks so good.
yeah.
He could be a real asset this year.
Yeah, definitely. The way he gets forward, when they've got him and Pereira on the wing back in the full back positions, they're going to have a lot going up those flanks, and Barnes through the sort of slightly more narrow. When they've got that, there's a lot that can be offered from him. So yeah, they looked really good, and I think Burnley looked good. I was really impressed. We'll start with Chris Wood. He looked really good, and he's their main focal point in attack, and is probably going to be on penalties from what we saw at the end of last season. We don't have that confirmed, but he is a great option. We've spoken to him about that a little bit. I'd imagine you're just quite happy that he ticks along this season. Just, a goal every couple of games is fine for you, I imagine.
Yeah, because I think he's finished last season well as well.
Yeah,
I think he scored in the last four uh, games last season. He got a goal. Could have had another one, hit the post. Could have had a brace easily. And I was surprised the way that, even though Leicester were attacking, as Burnley tried to attack as well, and they had a lot of chances going forward. I think they both ended up on the same amount of shots, but obviously Leicester were a tiny bit more clinical. Wood was
mm,
unlucky when he hit the post as well. So, but yeah, Burnley looked good going
yeah.
forward as well.
I agree. People looking at Peters at 4.5, he could potentially be playing in that left mid spot for Burnley. Brady, he's fractured a rib. It's not actually, I think it's actually less time out than it sounds. You think a fractured
Yeah.
rib, they're going to be out for the season, but I think it's probably about a month that he's probably going to be out. But Peters at left mid, a short term option. But I was so impressed. I know I owned him, so I was watching him. But Charlie Taylor was so good. I don't understand if England aren't going to call up a left back. I don't understand why he's not there if they want to play a defensive minded player. The balls he put into the box as well to pick up his assist, as well as the amount of blocks and tackles he makes means he's going to get bonus points. Um, he ranked higher up on the bonus points than anyone else. He was higher than Dunn, who actually scored. So I like him a lot. I'm quite happy to have him, and we know what Burnley can do defensively. When they've got their full team back at 4.5, it still feels like quite a simple one to have a Burnley defender in your team.
Yeah, he's in my wildcard team as well. I think, like you said, it's when they get their the full strength defense back. I think, like we seen last season, they're a very good defensive team, and they all work hard. And I think, like you said, Taylor was quality, like that assist as well, the balls that he was putting in, and yeah, definitely a good option to have. Only 4.5 as well, and a very consistent player in a good defensive team.
Yeah, and I agree. So on to the second last game of the weekend, we have Aston Villa against Sheffield United. I think